Hello, my name is Zachariah with Old Man Gaming. Welcome to another Snap Judgment review. What is a Snap Judgment review? If you have never watched one before, well, I think most game reviewers nowadays get a little bit caught up in finishing the game, 100%ing the game, getting very far in the game before they do the reviews. Sometimes they lose track of whether you're going to have fun with the game right off the rip or not. So I do about 5 to 10 hours with the game. I'm just trying to give you an idea whether you're going to enjoy it right away or not. That, coupled with the fact that I think games are one of the most subjective forms of art, I'm not going to give you a score to this review. Instead, I'm going to tell you what the game is, an overview of how it plays and what it is, and then I'm going to tell you a list of pros and cons in my point of view, as all reviews are, and then I will be telling you whether I personally will be sticking with the game outside the purposes of this review or content. What am I doing today? I'm doing Rotwood. Super excited about this game. So, the Steam Next Fest came out. There was a demo for this in that. I actually have a video on the channel where I kind of did a quick little 2 or 3 minute preview of it. And I was really kind of blown away with what I saw there. So when it released for only $10, I was very excited about it. It is in early access, so keep that in mind for all the things that I'm about to review and point out. They could change, they could become completely different, and probably will by the time it hits a version 1.0. So, what is Rotwood? Right off the bat, you create a animal fantasy type creature. It's hard for me to figure out because you got kind of like a goat creature, you got kind of like a cat creature, then you got like a weird mermaid creature. I don't know, very strange. But then you can customize your little sprite and then take them into a 2D kind of medieval brawler. You fight monsters. All are kind of weirdly cute, but you fight monsters in different rooms. This is also a roguelike. So you'll go into a room, there'll be a bunch of monsters, you will brawl with them with your chosen weapon. If you defeat them all, then you get some sort of reward, whether it be money to buy stuff temporarily, money to buy stuff overall, or some sort of perk that allows you to get further in the dungeon, so to speak. Then you'll pick another way, and you'll go into another room, rinse, repeat, until you fight a boss, until you fight another boss, and then you get through the whole area, or you die trying and end up having to restart. The whole thing is procedurally generated, which makes the replayability there. As far as the brawling goes, there is a whole nother... the brawling is very interesting because it is reliant on what weapon you pick. You actually are customizable to... You start with the hammer, which is a very basic, useful weapon. But then there's also some very interesting weapon choices here. There's a spear, a striker with these 2 giant, scary, studded volleyball things, and then a cannon. And then those drastically change your playstyle of how you're fighting. I haven't seen any more weapons than those 4 so far. I'm hoping that more get added because I found this very interesting. We'll talk about that later in the pros and cons. But that actually will change the style of how you play and really puts a new spin on some of the brawling that I found quite intriguing. Most brawlers are about memorizing your character's combos and memorizing the kind of environment around you and managing both of them to get high combos and defeat your enemies. This game has a dodge mechanic, making it a little bit into the vein of the Dark Souls. But like the strikers, you throw the ball, it does damage, then the ball bounces every time it's hit by either the enemy or you. So you kind of have to both hit them and the ball into them in this weird volleyball pattern, which I think is very, very interesting. Then you have the cannon, which is just this blitzkrieg ranged attack style. There's not even really a combo system to it. So there is very interesting ways to do a brawler already that I think is very cool. You'll also find all sorts of different customizables. I'm kind of blown away by it being in early access and the price that it is, how much is already here. The other half of the game happens in the camp. You're slowly building up a camp for you and your little squad of people who are hunting this rot. The story is not quite there yet. Obviously, it's early access. The best I have come to understand so far is that I am some sort of hunter. We were going into the woods to hunt monsters, and had to kind of set up camp there, and that's all I really understand, so that's why I'm doing the runs. I will say, though, that the characters inside are interesting. They all present kind of interesting and different ways of talking to you and communicating with you, which I thought was a nice touch, and I'm sure that these will expand as the game goes on. But that camp is fully customizable. All of the things in them, you can move where they are, kind of set it up in the way that you want, and so you have this kind of weird base building element to it on the back end of the game, in between the roguelike runs. You also can level up through... There's also a lot of ways to level up and gain rewards. There's a mastery system for each one of the weapons as well as each one of the armors, which give you a list of tasks that you do in the field. Once you do a certain number of them, you get a reward for it, or beat a boss, whatever. There's also actual like equipment upgrades and character upgrades that you can get through that will make your character stronger, just overall. So with that out of the way, let's get into the pros and cons. I like to go positive first, always. In the pros, I gotta start with the best pro. This game blows me away that it's $11, and that's with tax. It is, I think it's like $10.66. That's crazy cheap for what this game brings to the table. I know it's a simple loop, but there's a ton of enemy types. There's already 4 different weapon types. There's tons of armors to find, tons of things to explore. I would have paid $20 for this, and for it to only be like a bargain basement thing kind of surprised me, which I was very excited about. There is multiplayer. I do want to say I never tried that, so I cannot speak to it here in this review, but just the fact that it's there and it's got $10, it's just kind of a crazy idea to me that you have that be so cheap. The next thing is, and this again speaks to its early access and the price tag, it just feels finished in a lot of ways. The art is phenomenal and the animation is great. Oftentimes with sprite or hand-drawn animation stuff, sometimes I get into the thing of I can't tell where a move connects because it's too artistic. That's not the problem here. They have this perfect, you know where your hits connect, you know how they're connecting, you know when they're doing damage, what they're doing. It's crisp, it's clean, and it's pretty as hell. Love this game for that. Something that I'm very excited for. I'm very, just super excited to play more. My next pro, gotta be the different weapon types here. Super excited about the different weapon types. And the way they change kind of the game. Like brawlers are having a resurgence, and I love that because I'm a brawler fan through and through. Anybody who's watched this channel long enough knows that. But brawlers also could stand some innovation, to use some innovation from 2024, and this game does that. You've got the hammer, which is your standard, you know, light, heavy attack combo kind of close combat sort of standard brawler feel, and then every other weapon changes the game. The skewer is much more quick, less damage but quicker, snappier attacks relying you to dodge more, and then you have the strikers, which is just completely off the wall, just the most interesting different thing I've ever seen in a brawler like this. I think it's so cool to be kicking the ball around for your combat, and it puts such a weird thought process on everything that I just couldn't help but play them. And then you've got the cannon, which is this blitzkrieg ranged attack, you know, shock and all, hit the button, almost turns the game into a shooter, which will kind of funnel into one of my cons, but I just, before I get there, the variation of the things you can do and the things you can, the thought and innovation that they put behind this game, really refreshing in my opinion. I hope a lot of brawlers adopt this kind of, take that brawler format, just build on top of it. All right, we're gonna hit the cons real quick. Again, disclaimer. This is early access as early as it can be. I mean, it only came out into early access, I think, a week ago, maybe 2. So this is going to be some nitpicky stuff. It's going to be stuff that's probably going to get fixed in the future that I just noticed I didn't like, and I pointed it out. And again, none of it is reasons to not play this game. My biggest problem, though, and this would be mechanically, is the cannon just feels overpowered. It really does. I got to try all 4 weapons, which I was very proud of in my 5 hours. The cannon, you just shoot from a distance and you do so much damage. The reload mechanic is real easy and crisp, so you can reload fast. There's a shotgun dodge, which probably would be the only weakness of this cannon, is you have to have a shell in to be able to dodge. So if you get swarmed, you can kind of get stuck in a corner getting nailed by people. But if you're just very mindful of your placement, you can very easily just run around the field just shooting everything and nuking it. I felt it was overpowered. Other people might disagree with me, and that's totally fair. For me, playing all 4 of the weapons, I had the easiest time from go playing with the cannon. There was nothing to learn there. Not really anything complicated. Like, they put thought into it. I'm not saying they didn't. I'm just saying that it just nukes the field, in my opinion, very fast and efficiently. With that being said, I have to kind of shout it out. It's a little bit overpowered. I'm not a guy who likes nerfs in PvE games, but this one might need a little bit, or put some sort of mechanic to it that makes it just seem a little bit more complicated, I guess. And then finally, not finally, but the other 2, very nitpicky. There's no facial hair in the character creator. No mutton stash, no mutton chops, nothing. Come on, give us the beards. You're giving us a hammer to run around with on a little goat guy. Give me a beard. I think partially it's because 2 out of the 3 characters are furries, not furries, but furry type characters, and then the 3rd base character type is a fish. How would they grow hair on their face? Still, I want beards. Add beards. And then no voiceover. Look, I always shout this out in reviews when I don't see them. I am sure this is an indie studio. It is an incredibly cheap price tag, and voiceover can sometimes be the most costly part of a game. So, I very, very clearly understand why this does not have any actual voiceover, and it is all text-based. That being said, I have called out no voiceover as a con in every other game that I have ever reviewed. I'm not going to not do it here. I have to at least be consistent. Again, I'm only really calling it out, though, for consistency. The game is only $11, and it is really good, and there's a surprising amount of meat on this bone. The fact that they don't have voiceover in such a bargain, a bargain ease of early access game doesn't bother me. Doesn't really bother me at all. But it doesn't have it, and I always call it out, so I gotta call it out. At least I'm consistent, right, everybody? Am I gonna stick with this game outside the purposes of this review? You bet your ass. I love a good 2D brawler, and this game brings a lot to the table. I think that the upcoming Towerborn from Microsoft, from Stoic, has a lot to learn from this. If they are, because what they're pitching is very similar to this on a greater scale, I very much hope that they can pull that off, because Rotwood is awesome. I think anybody who is a fan of 2D brawlers, anybody who's a fan of roguelike, anybody who's a fan of that kind of stuff, will enjoy this game, hands down. It gets you right into the action. It is easy to understand, tough to master. It is great. I recommend this to any 2D brawler fan out there. Check it out. It's on Steam. It's only $11. It's awesome. And that's it. Did I get it right? Did I get it wrong? You guys can tell me in the comments below. You can also contact us on Facebook at OmegaMDH, on Twitter at OmegaMDH. Join our Discord, links in the description below. Influence us in all of our shows from there. And as long as you guys keep watching and listening, I'll endeavor to keep making them. See you guys next time.